I don't know if you've ever heard somebody say, "Heaven gained an angel today," after somebody that they loved died. I know I have heard it countless times. Another way that it is often put, especially with kids, is that their grandparent is now an angel in heaven. So this begs the question, do we become angels when we die? Well, the best way to answer that question is to look at the Bible. Well, what does the Bible say about it? Well, let me put forth for your consideration Matthew 22:30. But first, some context. The Sadducees came and asked Jesus somewhat of a ridiculous question about the resurrection. Now, the Sadducees did not believe that there was a resurrection of the dead, so they were asking this question to try and trap him. You can read the whole account for yourself in Matthew chapter 22, but basically the question was about marriage in heaven. Our topic today is not about marriage, it's about angels. But in verse 30, Jesus says something that actually weighs in on our topic. He says, "For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven." They are like angels in heaven. Now one might take this verse and say, see, we become angels when we die. But let us look at the context of the passage for a moment. Jesus is answering a question about marriage in heaven. His answer, just as the angels are not married, neither will we be married when we go to heaven. That is the context of the passage. Now, can we take anything else out of this passage? Well, we know from other passages that when we go to heaven to be with Christ, we will be sinless, like how the angels are sinless. Now we could go on and continue and make many more comparisons, but the point is, we will be like angels in many ways after we die. But do we actually become angels when we die? And to just answer the question, no, we won't. Because we are different than angels both in this life and in the next. Some might take the word life from Matthew 22:30 and say that the passage is saying that we will only be like angels and not actually angels. It is somewhat of a fair point contextually. However, the Greek word translated as like can have a little bit more to it than what our English word implies. But we're not going to go into that. So then how can I say that we do not become angels when we die? Well, part of the answer involves what's known as the burden of proof. Basically, who has to give the proof for their argument? In this case, the one who claims that we become angels when we die has to give proof from the Bible that this is the case. I don't have to prove this because the burden of proof is not in my court. It would essentially be the same thing if I said we become llamas after we die. You don't need to prove that. I need to prove that because I'm making that statement. And just to note, I don't believe that we become llamas when we die. But since the burden of proof lands in the court of those who say that we do become angels when we die, they need to prove it from Scripture. Is there a passage that states this? No. That's the simple answer. The Bible does not say that we become angels when we die. What's more, the Bible actually makes distinctions between us and angels even after death. One of the best passages that speaks about this is 1 Corinthians 6:3. Do you not know that we are to judge angels? How much more then matters pertaining to this life? Now we could spend an entire video on this verse alone and the context behind this verse, but the point is, believers will judge angels in the next life. Paul is showing a distinction between the two. We as believers will be co-heirs with Christ and will reign with him. Another passage that speaks of the difference between us and angels is Hebrews chapter 1. Now, the author of Hebrews in this passage is proving that Jesus is greater than angels. And in the context of most of this passage, it really has nothing to do with believers. So how does this apply to our topic? Well, many of the promises given to Christ, especially through the Davidic covenant, benefit us. In Hebrews 1 verse 5 and 6, it says, "For to which of the angels did God ever say, 'You are my son, today I have begotten you'? Or again, 'I will be to him a father, and he shall be to me a son'?" The point of this passage is that angels are called servants, and Jesus is called a son. A son is greater than a servant. In Hebrews chapter 12 we read, "And have you forgotten the exhortation that addresses you as sons? My son, do not regard lightly the discipline of the Lord, nor be weary when reproved by him. For the Lord disciplines the one he loves, and chastises every son whom he receives. It is for discipline that you have to endure. God is treating you as sons. For what son is there whom a father does not discipline? When we come to Christ, we become children of God. We become sons. But that title is never given to angels. In fact, angels are commanded to serve us, which is pointed out at the end of Hebrews 1. Are they not all ministering spirits sent out to serve for the sake of those who are to inherit salvation? There must be a difference between us and angels because we're different creatures, and we are given promises by God that angels do not receive. So no, we don't become angels after we die. We actually become something greater. There is what I guess we could call somewhat of an inherent flaw in the thought that we become angels, and it involves demons. What are demons? Fallen angels. Angels who sinned and rebelled against God. If you say that we become angels after we die, then you also have to say that those who are not saved become demons after they die. We hear of the child who says that their grandma is now an angel in heaven, but do we hear of the child who says that their uncle who didn't believe in God is now a demon in hell? I think the big problem with this thought is that it has an improper view of heaven and hell. There is far more to heaven than, well, us becoming angels. And saying that kind of negates the promises given to us as believers by God. As well, this thought would generally fall into the belief that Satan rules hell because of the whole becoming a demon when one dies. Granted, most people who say that we become angels when we die probably wouldn't say that. But the Bible doesn't teach that Satan rules hell. It teaches that hell was a place created for Satan and the demons as a punishment, and that he has no rule over it. So what about you? Have you ever heard somebody say something connected to this topic and wondered, is this true? Well, now you know. Is there another common misconception that you hear people talk about that you would like me to talk about? Leave it in a comment below. While you're at it, subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and remember to know the word, do the word, and share the word. But as always, we do it in love.